Welcome back, my Pokemon Ventures. Alright, let's pitter patter and get to it. Use a Nidoqueen. What took you, Crystal? Just as we thought. The strange radio signal was coming from here. Move out of the way, you chump. The stairs are right here. We should split up and check this place. I'll go first. I have to leave. You two can handle this route, right? Who are you, dude? I feel like I've seen that sprite. I feel like I've seen the sprite, but not like recently. This Pokemon were tough. Well, of course, it's the freaking champion. Alright, people. Looks like we're gonna have a slog fest here. Because I think two come at a time. You know, I really like the designs of the rockets. I've always liked the design. It's like, you know, I don't know what it is. I guess because it looks like, they look like old school thieves or whatever. I don't know what era that would be in, but you know, I mean, you know, they're styling. So at least, you know, Giovanni had some, you know, sense of style. And I guess Giovanni would technically be Italian, you know? It's pretty much an Italian name. Alright, Drowsy's down. But like I say, yeah, this is just gonna be a slog fest. Because I'm planning on just, you know, taking him on manually instead of turning off the switch, because there's a switch you can push here so you don't have to battle me anymore. But you know what? Mama didn't raise no bitch, so yeah. So you know, I'm just gonna take him down. Okay, and I believe here in this rocket base you can also fight like Pokemon that are, I guess, technically considered wild. I guess you can say. So, you know, I will be making a capture here, and this will be a Mahogany. My Mahogany town catch. So, you know, that'll be one more to the roster. But so far I feel like I'm doing pretty good, you know, I mean, I've only got like 2 deaths. And you know, like I'm pretty far into the game, you know, you know, I'm going for the 6th gym badge, so. Oh no, I'm sorry, the 7th gym badge. I miscounted people. Yeah, but no, you know. So yeah, I think I'm doing pretty good for myself. All right. No, because by now, like in my Yellow Legacy run, I had like, ooh, shoot, I don't even know how many I had at that point, you know, but it was quite a bit. But like I said, like the way the crits work out in this game are very different, so. You know, less deaths. Then, and I learned a few things too, you know. I got a little bit of experience there. Alrighty. So, like, I was talking about, like, the Voltorbs in my last episode, I believe. Or 2 episodes ago. I don't really recall. And I was talking about, you know, like I said, the Voltorbs. And, you know, how they were taken over by Haunters, right? So, you know, if they can be possessed by ghost Pokemon, you know, if both ghost Pokemon can be possessed, then why not have them in different forms? Like, I know there's a Pokemon that already exists that does that, like the Rotom, because it could be it could be a washing machine, a fan, you know, all kinds of things, right? So I'm here thinking, and it's like, okay, well, Rotom did that. And Hunters can basically do the same thing, I think, so far as Ghastlies and all that. I don't know, like, you know, like, do you think like in 2nd generation or 3rd generation they should have had that continue? Like, you know, like just have a possession type Pokemon and things. Like, you know, Haunter could have taken over like a bicycle or something, you know? or machinery, or hell, even another person, you know? Like, you could just find people out in the wild and, you know, oh, okay, look, we're getting an evolution with Boulder. The Boulder. Now he's the Boulder. Hell yeah. Nice, final evolution. Golem the Boulder. Oh, I said that backwards. The Boulder, the Golem. That still didn't sound good. I'm just being silly. Did you guys catch that? How we jumped over that? It's because there's wild Pokemon right there, I guess. Alright, but like I was saying, like, you know, so, you know, I kind of feel like, you know, I guess if they wanted to add more to the roster or whatever, they could have had, like, Hunter, like, take over more things. But then again, I guess it's not really stated that that's what a Voltorb is. That it's just a Hunter that took over a Pokeball. But at the same time, you know, I mean, I think it's mentioned, like, in some of their entries that they can't possess things or people. So imagine just walking out in the field and you just get attacked by another person. So because there's a Pokemon inside them, like, you know, like the Hunter, and you can catch them, does that technically mean that you could catch the person? You know, just for the sole fact that, you know, he has a Pokemon inside him. And I only say that because, you know, like, you know, you can have a Rotom and it could, you know, be a washing machine and all these other things and what have you, and you can catch it, you know. So whenever that happens, it's like, okay, so basically you're not just catching the Pokemon, but you're catching a whole entire freaking fridge. You know what I mean? And that's an inanimate object. You know what I mean? And you can't tell me, like, well, no, it can't catch a person. We're too big. Excuse you. You can catch Gyarados, Onixes, things that are very huge in the tiny little Pokeball. You know what I mean? But you can't tell me that a normal person can't be caught. I mean, maybe I guess it, and that's what I'm saying. Like, it can only be possible to catch a person if you if the Hunter's inside them. Only because, like, you know, I feel like maybe the Pokeballs are, like, more genetically coded for Pokemon. So Pokemon are things. So I feel like the human species. Well, hold on. I feel like the human species, for the most part, can't be caught. Because now that I think about it, like, really think about it, it's like, technically you can catch a human in a Pokeball. Because, think about the humanoid-looking Pokemon like Mr. Mime. You know what I mean? Yes, he's a Pokemon, but look how human he looks. You know? And we all know that Mr. Mime is smashing Ash's mom on the side, you know? I mean, come on now, it's pretty obvious. I mean, the dude lives with her, that's basically like her boyfriend and stuff, you know? Her weird little boyfriend. Nah, that's just a people joke, you know? I mean, but come on, we've all had that thought. You know? I mean, come on, we all really know who's smashing Ash's mom. You know, it's Professor Oak, you know, that's why he sent him away. You know, because how weird is it that, you know, he invites her everywhere? That he, you know, that every time he calls, more than half the time she's there, you know? I'm just saying, you know, I mean, he better be ready for Gary to be his, what would he, okay, hold on. How would that work? Let me think about this. I guess Gary would be his... Would it be his uncle? No. Would that be his cousin? Hold on, let me think about this. God, this is tough. Okay, okay, because Professor Oak is would be his dad, or would be his dad, right? All right. So if that's the case, then that means Gary's dad would be his brother. Okay. Oh, okay. I understand. Yeah, Gary would be his uncle, because he would be the niece. No, not the niece. Well, that's what Gary would call him though. Like, hey, here's my niece Ashy, Ashy boy. Yeah, Gary would call him his niece, wouldn't he? Yeah, because he's just a you know, he's just a dick like that. You know what I mean? Okay, but on a serious note, I think that would be Ash's uncle. You know, like Gary would be Ash's uncle in a way. I don't know. You tell me if I'm wrong. I'm like pretty sure I'm wrong. You know, but you know, you correct me if you have to. But come on, you know, that's a pretty funny thought process. You know, and Gary would have a freaking field day with that. You know what I mean? Oh man, would he be there freaking like, you know, just busting Ash's balls all the time? And you know, if Ash is still like 10 years old and nobody's, you know, being aged, that technically means his mom can still have kids, you know what I mean? Because she doesn't look like she's that old, you know? I mean, Ash's mom is, you know, Ash's mom is a MILF, you know? I mean, come on, we're all thinking it, you know what I mean? So it's like you know, well, Ash, be prepared to have another sibling, you know? Your father never came home, so you know, I got with the old professor here. And you know, the man is like, I'm pretty sure the man's kind of the man or pockets are full. You know what I mean? He could easily support her. I mean, come to think of it, now that I think about it, because I've been watching the Pokemon series, and I've been, you know, I barely finished the Alolan region in the show. So, you know, he basically goes and he stays there, right? And I'm thinking, and you know, now that I'm thinking about it, it's like, well, who paid for the trip there? Who, and you know, who's paying his way there, you know, to stay there, you know what I mean? Because that takes money, you know. He ain't gonna live there just for free, you know. Somebody's gotta be paying on that. You know what I mean? Just stop and think about it, you know? And the first time his mom went, you know what I mean? Who do you think paid for that? Come on now, people. We all know it was Professor Oak, you know? He's like, go ahead, Delia. Go ahead and take you know, take yourself and Ash to, you know, to the Alolan region. You know, you have a good time. You know she's smashing, dude. Come on now. She can't afford that trip by herself. She's a single mother. Who's like a house, oh, hey, a coffee. Who's, you know, she's basically a stay-at-home mother. I think. Like, I don't think it's anywhere that she works or whatever. So come on, who's you know, who's paying the bills there, you know, and who's always there? Yeah, that's right. It's Professor freaking Oak. I'm just saying, you know, like, you know, the more I think about it, and like now that I'm, like I said, he's the one who obviously who paid for Ash to, who's been paying Ash's expenses while he was in Alola. You know what I mean? God damn. I can't believe I hadn't really thought about it till now, but damn, you know, I mean, that's basically his stepdad. You know, I mean, because think about it, like, everybody's all over, you know, all about Professor Oak, like, oh, he's like the greatest man, this and that, and he's so cool, he's so smart, you know, like, you know, just freaking, like, you know, rizzing him up and all that, you know, or not rizzing him up, but, you know, like, hyping him up, you know what I mean? And Ash is here like, yeah, he's okay. You know, he's cool. And the only people who act like that is if you're like somehow related, or maybe he's dating your mom or whatever, you know what I mean? Because that's the only way somebody would be like that, you know, with like a celebrity and all that. You know, like that, they don't find it such a big deal. So, you know, I think she is dating Professor Oak, you know what I mean? And obviously he likes him younger, but, you know, he's got good taste. So, I mean, hey, she's, you know, she's old enough. So, you know, I guess you could say that's my headcanon on that right there, you know what I mean? God, it's so funny. Yeah, but like I said, I mean, who knows what happened to Ash's dad, you know, whether that dude's even still alive. I mean, you know, there's been theories and all that, and they all kind of make sense. But, you know, like, nothing is confirmed. I just don't understand why, like, why they haven't decided to speak up on that. It's like, okay, well, or at least drop us a damn hint, you know what I mean? It's like, tell us who it is. Yeah, but the main reason why it took me so long to like sit down and like watch the Pokemon series is because like I didn't like the fact that, you know, each time he started in a new region and all that, like he never aged. Like, yeah, his looks changed and all that, but he was always like 10, you know what I mean? So that whenever I was watching, you know, like the Alolan region one, I can't remember what it's called right now, but whenever I was watching that one, you know, Brock and Misty come to visit him, right? And it's like, okay, so how are they gonna be introduced, you know? And I think before, no, you know what? No, before, even before that, he talked about like his adventures with them. You know what I mean? Whenever they come, then they kind of go into it just a little bit more and all that. It's like, okay, so all that did happen. You know what I mean? So because it did happen, it's like, okay, well, how the hell are you still freaking 10? You know? And I think I came up with I came up with an explanation for it, but it doesn't hold water only because of what was said on some movies. Unless the movies are spin-offs and they don't count towards the actual canon because they're spin-offs. But the only way I can think about it that he's still 10 is if everything up until now happened like each journey happened like within a few months or something like that. So like, how many seasons is there? Like 6, I believe. No, there's more than that. I guess I don't know how much time and all that, but I feel like maybe like him going through the whole of Kanto, like the Kanto region, like, you know, like all the adventures he went on took like about a month. You know what I mean? Like each one took about roughly about a month, maybe 2. But 2's pushing it, like it would have to be a month or less. So by the time he gets there, you know, it's still within a year. You know what I mean? And yeah, but I guess in some instances it might have to be about a month, a little bit more than a month, because he does spend time training, he does spend time, you know, doing other things. You know what I mean? Because in the Alolan region, they were there for about a week, I believe, before he got started. So you know, you would have to add all that time up. But that's the only way how I can explain it, that he's still 10, because you know, you know. Because, you know, it hasn't even been a year, you know, even in the Alolan region, you know, because he's always 10, you know, and each and every single one. So I'm like, okay, so he's gone for about, so he goes on his Pokemon adventure and he travels, and you know, he's gone for about a month. But see, again, like I said, my theory doesn't hold water, because I mean, if he's traveling and by foot, even if he was on a bike, it would still take him forever to get from, you know, from one point in Kanto to another. You know what I mean? I mean, even if the world, even if like the place was like significantly reduced, I mean, it still takes time to get there, you know, because he wasn't riding his Pokemon, he wasn't, you know, doing none of that. So because of that, you know, I mean, my theory doesn't hold water, but it's the only way it kind of makes sense is if, you know, if he's just there, you know, and finishes like a certain adventure within a month. It's like, yeah, I'm still 10. But because, you know, it took me about a month to go through one whole region. I mean, like I said, they show him walking everywhere, but you know, if they took some transportation here and there, you know, they just didn't show it, you know, then I guess it wouldn't make sense. You know what I mean? Well, like I said, I mean, really, there's no making sense. You know, I mean, it is a cartoon and all that, so you know, I mean, it's not gonna, you know. You know, the authors aren't gonna make no sense of it. I mean, because that's not the main point of Pokemon. The main Pokemon is the adventure and the Pokemon. So you know, and I guess, like, you know, I guess you could kind of see it like The Simpsons. You know, like you know, it's been like 20 something, 30, 40 years, however long for The Simpsons, and Bart is still 10. So what they're doing is, you know, so really, like, there's no time discrepancy there. So I guess you can basically apply the same logic to the Pokemon series. Like, even though he's been on all these adventures, the only other way I can... No, never mind, that doesn't work either. I was about to say, you know, that it's, that they, each one takes place in its own, like, dimension or whatever, but no, that doesn't make sense because it, you know, it's concurrent with each other. Just because of what was said. So, no, it's not multiple dimensions. Or an alternate universe, you know? Let me see. Honestly, there's just no way I can really explain that away. You know, I mean, frankly, I don't think nobody can. It just accept the fact that he's just perpetuously 10. And the only other way I can kind of maybe see how it works. I mean, even though this makes less sense to the others, is that maybe like their calendar year is a lot longer. Like, let's say in the time a year here passes for us, like 365 days, I think it is. That maybe like their year is equivalent to like maybe double the time, like maybe 2 years equals 1 year, or 3 years equals 1 year, you know, something like that. So their calendar year is like twice or 3 times, even 4 times the length of ours. I mean, you know, just as good as any other theory, you know. I mean, it would make sense as to, you know, as to all that. I don't know. Nobody's ever gonna figure that out, though. You know, it's too you know, it's too confusing, and at this point, it's like I'm just gonna accept the fact that he's 10, he's not aging, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. And that's the reason why I like why I prefer the manga version to it, because you see the character's age. You know what I mean? Because and then they just don't stick to one character for, you know, for very long. You know, like they have a new one like every I think every generation. And what's cool is that, you know, Red, you know, he starts off 10 or whatever, and by the time you get to like Yellow, or hold on, who's after Yellow? Was it Yellow? Yeah, I think whenever Yellow came in, you know, whatever, he was like 17 or whatever, because he was into. I know at some point, spoilers for like a really old manga, but you've been warned. But you know, he ends up getting like frozen or in stone or something like that. You know, he gets petrified or something like that, right? And you can see like he aged. You know, he's like 17, maybe 18. You know, he's a teenager at that point. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. That's what I like about this, is the characters do age. I'm gonna have to take the time to finish that manga. I ended up stopping during or after Emerald. So, you know, that's just one manga I have to pick back up. I'm not even sure if it's still running. I mean, I think it is. But, you know, I've been trying to catch up on everything else. No, I read a lot of webtoons too, you know. I kind of hate the fact that, you know, I got so much to read on webtoons, because you catch up to one, right? It's like, okay, I'm caught up. So now what? So you start another one. By the time you know it, you have like, you know, you're reading all these things. But luckily for me, like, I finally finished reading God of High School. So, you know, I'm completely done with that. You know, that's good. That's one less webtoon I have to read. Yeah, and then I ended up downloading a manga thing, or a manga app. It's well, what's it called? Tachimanga? Yeah, Tachimanga. So, you know, so now, like, you know, I have access to, like, just, you know, regular mangas now, too. So it's like, you know, I'm wanting to catch up to everything I was reading beforehand, so I am. So I ended up finishing manga there, too. I ended up finishing UQ Holder. Which is like which is a continuation of God, I can't even remember what it's called. But the main character is named Negi, and he's like a little he's basically a magical instructor, and he's like 10 years old. Huh, funny, 10. But anyways, well, he ages though. But yeah. So that's basically a continuation of that. So I had read it a long time ago, and I just, you know, like the manga website I was using at the time went down, and then I couldn't find one that I liked. And then, like I said, I finally found Tachimanga, so I started picking up on everything again. So, you know, like, you know, I'm, as far as my manga, I'm like real behind on a whole bunch of stuff. Like right now, like I'm not even sure what to read next, because, like, you know, like I got stuff that I'm wanting to read before I see the anime, or, you know, I'm watching the anime, but you know, it's getting close to catching up to the manga, so I want to finish the manga. So, you know, I'm not too sure what to read next. You know, it's a lot to choose from. But you know, I guess I might have to just rotate them, you know, just to make it easier on me, because, you know, I'm still wanting to read Demon Slayer, and I'm still wanting to read Fairy Tail 100-Year Quest. Like that one, I'm already like more than 100 chapters in, you know. I recently finished the new anime that just came out for that. I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool, and it's following it pretty closely. But yeah, it's been a trip. It's a lot of content. Sometimes I think it's too much content these days, you know what I mean? I kind of wish it was back in the day, to where like things were kind of slowed down, you know? And the one thing I wish they would do is like finish finish a damn series before they continue to the next one. So that way we don't have to wait like 5 years just to see what happens, you know what I mean? At that point, like, ooh, I may as well just pick up the manga and just read it. And whenever the anime comes out, it comes out, you know? I already know what happens. You know, at this point. I don't know, it's real frustrating, you know what I mean? God, I'm still waiting on One Punch Man. That was pretty good. Yeah, I don't know, people. I just, you know, everything's just so freaking... I mean, it's fast, but it's slow these days, you know what I mean? It's like they keep pumping out, like, show after show, and it's just like, come on, bro, slow down. It's not, you know, it's not good to pace it like that. I mean, but, you know, like, the companies are going to do what they do, you know? I mean, they're about making their money and making their products, so, I mean, not like we can do anything to change it, so just something we have to accept. But with all my rambling and all that, I think I'm going to go ahead and end things here. You guys know what to do. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell to follow me on this channel. And I hope to see you here on the next time, you know. We'll be continuing to take down the Rocket Grunts and, you know, keep this train rolling. So until then, you know, you guys be kind to each other. Be kind to yourself. You know, respect other people. And overall, you guys have a nice day. Alright. See ya. Pitter-patter yourselves out of here. Huh? You thought I forgot, huh? No, I did not. I know you like that. Okay.